If you're struggling with loneliness, then you might want to ask whether you're also struggling with boredom. Whether the pain of loneliness and the frustration of loneliness, the empty feeling inside, is not simply the emptiness of loneliness, but also the emptiness of boredom. Because often we perceive something as loneliness and it's actually involving a fair degree of boredom as well, a deep kind of boredom. And I guess also the opposite can be true, that we think we're struggling with boredom when perhaps we are, but we're also struggling with loneliness. So as a matter of insight before you know what to do with the problem, it might be good to question it. I'm lonely. Maybe part of what this is boredom, because that starts to direct the answer. And I think it directs the answer in a couple of directions. So what I would say about loneliness is that, you can solve that in terms of engaging with people, and that can be, that's fine, that's good. In fact, it can be a good prompt to say, I need more relationships in my life, or I need to deepen the relationships I have, I need to give more time to them. So learn the lesson of the loneliness. Maybe it's giving you a positive lesson, you need to listen to it. But if it's not, or at least in terms of getting through today, getting through this weekend when you maybe can't make certain longer term or medium term changes at this moment, then the question of what to do maybe is to address that, address the loneliness and address the boredom. And those are perhaps two related but distinct things. So loneliness is a kind of lack of connection, a lack of nourishing connection with other human beings. And so I often think that you need to reach for other things, like something like beauty. You've got this kind of inner emptiness and you need to fill it. That's the basic problem. And if you can't fill it by connection with other people, then think about things like engagement with the world. And engagement with the world is often engagement through beauty as a broad category, or the aesthetic. So engaging with nature, engaging with warmth in terms of, say, cooking good food, doing work in the garden, doing woodwork, engaging with music, engaging with the things that give a kind of warmth to your inner life. I guess the examples I've given are ones that give warmth to my inner life. So that's what I would engage in. Work out what it is for you. And then also, if it's boredom, doing some meaningful activities, or just actually doing some good activities. Maybe they're activities that are meaningful, and maybe that's meditation, or maybe it's prayer for you, or maybe it's, I don't know, some charity you work for, doing some activity toward that. Even if it's just doing the accountancy books for it, but you sit down and you do that because it's worthwhile and meaningful to you. But also just actually doing something, an activity that's the contrary of being bored. It's interesting, that's worthwhile, or even at worst distracting. And of course, these two can connect with one another. Doing something that's aesthetic and nourishing, or engaging with beauty, and doing something that's just interesting. So for me, that would be, for example, cycling through the bush. I'm engaging with nature, which is the aesthetic and its beauty, and I'm also if I've got the mountain bike out, then I'm just engaging in a pastime and an activity and something that's interesting. So I guess a couple of things out of this point I'm making tonight are, one, if you're struggling with loneliness, or maybe pass it down, like break it down and work out what the component parts are. That's part of it, so understand what you're actually struggling with. But then also, when you've broken it down to those component parts, they point to the answer of what to do with this, and they point to the answer in the medium and long term, but they also point to an answer for today.